You are watching a man's career, reputation, and life unravel in real time. You simply do not know who's yet. On a quiet afternoon, Officer Derek Cole made a decision every cop fears. He chose the wrong target. He saw a black man in a luxury vehicle and assumed he was a criminal. He had no idea he was staring at one of the FBI's most respected agents, Special Agent Marcus Hale. What unfolds next is not merely a misunderstanding. It is a brutal collision of ego and justice that ends with a twist so shocking it brings an entire police department to its knees. Watch closely. The hunter is about to become the hunted. The engine of the black Chevy Tahoe ticked softly as it cooled, the only sound in the otherwise silent cul-de-sac of Oak Creek Sycamore Drive. It was an affluent neighborhood where manicured lawns were cut with geometric precision. American flags drooped lazily on porch poles, and the kind of silence that cost $500,000 to purchase. Inside the Tahoe, Marcus Hale sat with the stillness of a predator waiting for the wind to change. He adjusted the cuffs of his Italian wool suit jacket, tailored to conceal the Sig Sauer P226 holstered beneath his left arm. On the passenger seat lay a confidential folder, a lukewarm cup of coffee, and a pair of high-powered binoculars. Marcus, known as Jay to the very few colleagues he trusted outside the bureau, checked his watch. He was not here for a drug bust or a bank robbery. He was here for something far more difficult to prove. White-collar corruption, involving city zoning permits, organized crime, and money laundering. The target was a man named Silas Mercer, a city councilman living 3 doors down. Marcus had spent years in the FBI, moving from the chaotic gang task forces of Chicago to the surgically precise white-collar crimes division. He knew how to wait. Patience was the primary weapon of his trade. He took a sip of the coffee, grimaced at the temperature, and scanned the street. A delivery truck rumbled past. A woman walked a golden retriever. Normal, boring, perfect. Then the rearview mirror caught a flash of white and blue. A police cruiser, Unit 402 of the Oak Creek Police Department, turned slowly onto the street. It did not pass. It crawled. The shark-like nose of the Ford Explorer dipped as the brakes engaged, coming to a halt 2 car lengths behind Marcus's Tahoe. Marcus let out a long, weary sigh through his nose. He knew the drill. He was a black man sitting in a tinted SUV in a neighborhood where the demographics skewed heavily white. He had hoped the generic government plates would serve as a sufficient do not disturb sign, but apparently today was going to be complicated. He watched the mirrors. The cruiser's doors opened. 2 officers. The driver was a wall of a man. Officer Derek Cole. Marcus did not know his name yet, but he recognized the type. Cole walked with his chest puffed out, thumbs hooked near his belt, his sunglasses reflecting the suburban glare. He was heavy-set but muscular, with a thick mustache that looked as though it belonged in another decade. His body language screamed territorial aggression. The passenger was younger, Officer Lena Harper. She looked as though she had only recently left the academy, her uniform slightly too large, her hand resting nervously near her radio. She trailed Cole by a few steps, glancing around the street as if expecting an ambush. "Here we go," Marcus whispered to himself. He kept his hands visible, resting them at the 10 and 2 positions on the steering wheel. He lowered the driver's side window as Cole approached. Cole did not say hello. He did not ask how Marcus was doing. He leaned down, placing a meaty hand on the roof of the Tahoe, and peered inside through his aviators. "License and registration," Cole barked, no preamble. Marcus turned his head slowly. He kept his voice calm, the practiced baritone of a man who had negotiated with hostage-takers. "Good afternoon, officer. Is there a problem?" "I said license and registration," Cole repeated, louder this time. He leaned in further, sniffing the air inside the car like a bloodhound. "You don't live here." "I'm working," Marcus said calmly. "I'm a federal agent. My credentials are in my inside jacket pocket. I'm going to reach for them now." This was the protocol. Declare, describe, move. Don't you move a muscle. Cole's hand dropped to his holster. The snap of the retention strap being thumbed off echoed in the quiet street. I didn't ask for a life story. I asked for ID. Get out of the car. Marcus frowned. This was escalating faster than usual. Officer, I am identifying myself as a special agent with the FBI. I am on an active surveillance operation. If I get out of the car, I break cover. Break cover? Cole laughed, a harsh, barking sound. You're sitting in a suspicious vehicle in a high-priority neighborhood, idling. We've had reports of break-ins. You fit the description. Marcus knew for a fact there had been no break-ins in this zip code in recent memory. He checked the crime statistics regularly. Which description is that, officer? He asked. The one that says black male in a car. Cole's face reddened instantly. The vein in his neck bulged. He ripped at the door handle. It was locked. Open this door or I break the window, Cole shouted. Officer Harper stepped forward tentatively. Derek, maybe let him show the ID first. He said he's a Fed. Shut up, Harper, Cole snapped without looking at her. He's stalling. He's probably ditching dope or a piece right now. Open the door. Marcus calculated his options. If he refused, Cole would smash the window, drag him out, and the scene would become even more chaotic. If he complied, he lost a measure of control. But he would save the taxpayer the cost of a window and potentially save his own life if Cole was as trigger-happy as he appeared. Okay, Marcus said, his voice dropping an octave, becoming cold and hard. I am unlocking the door. I am stepping out. But you need to listen very carefully to what I tell you next. Get out! Marcus unlocked the door. Before he could swing it fully open, Cole grabbed him by the lapel of his expensive suit and yanked. Marcus stumbled as he was hauled onto the asphalt. He was 6'2" and in peak physical condition, a former college linebacker, but he allowed himself to be moved. Resistance now would give Cole the excuse he was desperately fishing for. Hands on the hood now! Cole slammed Marcus against the hot metal of the Tahoe. The impact rattled his teeth, but he did not grunt. He spread his legs and placed his hands on the roof, fingers spread. My badge, Marcus said clearly, speaking loud enough for the body camera on Cole's chest to pick it up perfectly, is in my left interior pocket. My service weapon is holstered under my left arm. Do not reach for it unless you want a federal inquiry on your desk by morning. Gun! Cole shouted, ignoring the context. He's got a gun! Harper, cover me! Harper drew her weapon but pointed it low, looking terrified. Derek, he told you he has it. He's complying. He's armed and dangerous. Cole jammed his knee into the back of Marcus's knee, forcing him to buckle. Marcus went down to one knee, grit biting into his suit trousers. Cole grabbed Marcus's right wrist and twisted it behind his back, forcing it up near his shoulder blades. The pain was sharp, rotator cuff tearing sharp. Marcus gritted his teeth, his eyes narrowing. Officer Cole, Marcus said, reading the nameplate now that it was inches from his face. You are making a mistake that you cannot fix. Check my pocket. Look at the credentials. I'm checking for my safety first. Cole patted Marcus down aggressively. He found the gun. He ripped the Sig Sauer from the holster and skidded it across the pavement, scratching the finish of a government-issued firearm. That is federal property, Marcus stated. His voice was becoming robotic, detached. He was memorizing every second. Excessive force, failure to verify credentials, unlawful detention. Cole finally reached into the jacket pocket. He pulled out the leather wallet. He flipped it open. The gold shield of the FBI gleamed in the sunlight. The photo ID next to it clearly read, Marcus Hale, Special Agent. Cole stared at it. For a single heartbeat, the silence returned. Harper leaned in. Seeing the badge, her eyes went wide. Derek, she whispered. That's real. That's a real badge. Let him up. But Cole's ego was a runaway train. He had already committed. He had shouted, he had used force, and neighbors were beginning to emerge onto their porches. Mrs. Kensington from number 42 was holding her iPhone up. A landscaping crew across the street had stopped their mowers and were watching. If Cole backed down now, he would look like a fool. If he doubled down, he could claim the badge looked fake. He could claim Marcus was resisting. In Cole's mind, the truth was malleable. Cole snapped the wallet shut and shoved it into his own pocket. "Fake," he announced, loud enough for the neighbors to hear. "Looks like a forgery to me. You get these online?" Marcus's blood ran cold. This was no longer mere incompetence. This was malice. "You know that is legitimate. Call your supervisor. Call the field office. The number is on the back of the card. I'm taking you in for impersonating a police officer, resisting arrest, and possession of an illegal firearm," Cole said, pulling his handcuffs. Click, click. The steel bit into Marcus's wrists. "You are under arrest," Cole sneered, leaning close to Marcus's ear. "You think a suit and a fake badge make you untouchable? Not in my town, boy." The racial undertone was not subtle. It was a sledgehammer. Marcus stood as Cole hauled him by the chain of the cuffs. He turned to face the officer. He did not look defeated. He looked like a judge passing sentence. "Officer Harper," Marcus said, locking eyes with the rookie, "you are witnessing a felony. Deprivation of rights under color of law, Title 18, United States Code Section 242. If you do not intervene, you are an accessory." Harper flinched. She looked at Cole. "Derek, we should run the badge number. Dispatch can verify it in seconds." "I said get him in the car." Cole shoved Marcus toward the cruiser. Marcus did not fight. He walked with dignity despite his hands bound behind him. He sat in the back of the cramped plastic seat of the police interceptor. The smell of stale vomit and disinfectant filled his nose. Cole slammed the door. Inside the car, trapped behind the cage, Marcus took a deep breath. He closed his eyes. He was not praying. He was counting. He knew something the officer did not. Marcus was not merely on a stakeout. He was part of a coordinated takedown. His partner, Special Agent Harlan Pierce, was 2 streets over in a surveillance van, and Marcus was wearing a wire. Everything that had just happened, the racial slur, the dismissal of the badge, the refusal to check credentials, had been recorded and transmitted live to the Chicago field office. Marcus looked at the digital clock on the dashboard of the cruiser. "Harlan," he whispered, knowing the microphone taped to his chest beneath his shirt would pick it up. "Come get me. And bring the cavalry." Outside, Cole was strutting. He was playing to the audience. He walked over to Mrs. Kensington, who was still filming. "Nothing to see here, folks, just taking some trash off the street." Cole boomed. He picked up Marcus's gun from the pavement, handling it carelessly by the trigger guard, a massive safety violation, and tossed it onto the passenger seat of his cruiser. He turned to Harper. "You drive. I'll write up the booking sheet on the way. We're going to charge him with everything we can think of. Disorderly conduct, assault on an officer." "He didn't touch you, Derek," Harper said, her voice trembling. "He thought about it," Cole grunted. "Get in." They climbed into the car. Cole turned around, grinning at Marcus through the cage. "Comfortable back there, don't worry. The county lockup is worse." Marcus looked at him, his face completely expressionless. "You have very little time left, officer." "Very little time until what?" Cole laughed. "Until your life ends," Marcus said softly. "Not your heartbeat, your life as you know it." Cole rolled his eyes. Yeah, tell it to the judge." He slapped the dashboard. "Let's go, Harper." Harper put the car in drive. She released the brake, but before she could touch the gas, a siren chirped. Not the wail of a distant ambulance, the sharp, aggressive whoop-whoop of a federal siren. A massive black SUV, identical to Marcus's but with grille lights flashing red and blue, squealed around the corner, blocking the street in front of them. Then another came from behind, boxing them in. Then a third. Tires screeched, doors flew open. Men in tactical gear with FBI emblazoned in bright yellow on their backs poured out. They did not look like local cops. They moved with the terrifying speed of a SWAT team. Cole froze. His hand went to his door handle, but he didn't open it. "What is this?" he stammered. "Who are these guys?" Marcus leaned forward against the cage. A small, cold smile finally touched his lips. "That," he said, "is the twist." The silence of Sycamore Drive, previously disturbed only by birdsong and the drone of lawnmowers, was now shattered by shouting, slamming doors, and the crackle of high-frequency radios. Officer Derek Cole sat frozen in the driver's seat of his cruiser. His brain, usually quick to categorize the world into threat or civilian, was misfiring. The visual data in front of him did not make sense. Police officers were the predators in this ecosystem, not the prey. Yet, 3 black Chevrolet Suburbans had just executed a hard-box maneuver on his vehicle, a tactic usually reserved for terrorists or cartel leaders. "Derek!" Officer Lena Harper's voice was high, bordering on hysterical. "Derek! Put the car in park! Put your hands up!" "Shut up!" Cole hissed, though his voice lacked its usual venom. It was thin and greedy. "It's a mistake or a prank. Probably a movie shoot. They didn't have permits for this." He was clinging to delusion like a life raft. "Driver of the police cruiser!" A voice boomed over a PA system from the lead SUV. It was not a request. It was the voice of authority itself. "Turn off the engine. Throw the keys out the window. Keep your hands visible." Inside the cage of the cruiser, Marcus Hale watched the back of Cole's neck. He saw the sweat beginning to bead at the hairline. "I'd listen to them, Derek," Marcus said calmly. "That's Special Agent Harlan Pierce on the horn. He has a very low tolerance for nonsense." Cole whipped his head around, his face purple. "You set me up." "You set this up," Marcus replied. "I tried to show you my ID. You chose not to look." "Driver now!" The PA system boomed again. Cole's hands shook as he reached for the ignition. He turned the key. The engine died. He dropped the keys out the window. They clattered onto the asphalt. "Exit the vehicle. Walk backwards toward the sound of my voice. Hands on your head." Cole opened the door. The heat of the afternoon hit him, but he felt cold. He stepped out. He looked left and right. There were at least a dozen agents. They wore heavy plate carriers over navy blue fatigues. They held M4 carbines at the low ready, barrels pointed at the ground but ready to snap up in an instant. These were not beat cops. These were the FBI's regional SWAT team. The heavy hitters called in for high-risk warrants. Cole interlaced his fingers behind his head. He began walking backward. "Officer Cole," a voice spoke from behind him. Not over a PA this time, but close. "Stop. Get on your knees." "I'm a police officer!" Cole shouted, finding a scrap of his old bravado. "You can't do this! I have a badge!" "Get on your knees or you will be put on your knees." Cole crumbled. He sank to the asphalt, the gravel biting into his uniform pants. 2 agents moved in. They did not treat him with the professional courtesy usually extended between law enforcement agencies. They treated him like a hostile combatant. One agent grabbed Cole's left wrist, the other his right. They wrenched his arms down and slapped a pair of flex cuffs, heavy-duty plastic zip ties, onto his wrists. "Hey, that's too tight," Cole yelped. "Quiet," the agent on his right growled. Meanwhile, a different team moved to the passenger side. Officer Harper was already out of the car, crying, her hands high in the air. "I didn't do anything," she sobbed. I told him to check the badge." "Secure her," a tall agent commanded. "Check her weapon. Is it clear?" "Clear," another agent shouted, removing Harper's sidearm. They did not cuff her, but they escorted her away from Cole, separating the witnesses. Then the focus shifted to the back seat of the cruiser. The tall agent, Harlan Pierce, approached the rear door. He had red hair graying at the temples and a face that looked as though it had been carved from granite. He did not look happy. He looked apocalyptic. He opened the rear door. "You okay, Jay?" Pierce asked, his voice instantly shifting from command shout to that of a concerned friend. Marcus shifted in the plastic seat, offering his back to the door so Pierce could reach the handcuffs. "Shoulders are a bit tight. He wrenched it pretty good, but I'm fine." "Key!" Pierce barked over his shoulder. An agent handed him a universal handcuff key. Pierce unlocked the cuffs. Marcus stepped out of the cruiser. He rubbed his wrists where red welts were already forming. He adjusted his suit jacket, brushed a speck of dust from his level, and took a deep breath of fresh air. He walked over to where Cole was kneeling. The scene was a tableau of humiliation. Cole, the king of his little patrol beat, was now kneeling before the man he had called boy minutes earlier. Marcus looked down at him. He did not gloat. He did not smile. He simply looked disappointed. "Officer Cole," Marcus said, "I am Special Agent Marcus Hale. I am the lead investigator on the RICO case targeting the corrupt zoning operations in this district. You have just compromised a 2-year federal investigation." Cole looked up, blinking against the sun. "RICO? What are you talking about? You were just sitting there." "I was waiting for a courier to deliver a package of cash to Councilman Mercer," Marcus said, pointing to the house 3 doors down. "A courier who just drove past us while you were screaming about my registration." Cole's face went pale. "I didn't know." "Ignorance is not a shield for incompetence," Marcus said. "And it certainly is not a shield for civil rights violations." A black sedan pulled up to the perimeter. The door opened, and a man in a charcoal suit stepped out. He moved with the weight of authority that made even the SWAT team straighten. "That's the ASAC," Pierce whispered to Marcus. "Assistant Special Agent in Charge, Elias Grant." He was listening to the wire. "ASAC." Grant walked straight past the SWAT team, past Harper, and stopped in front of Cole. Grant was a small man with glasses, but his eyes were like lasers. "Get him up," Grant ordered the agents. They hauled Cole to his feet. Grant leaned in close. "Officer, in my 25 years with the Bureau, I have heard many things on a wire. But what I heard you say to Agent Hale today, that was special. That was a career-ending performance." He resisted, Cole sputtered, trying to lie one more time. He refused to exit. Grant reached into his pocket and pulled out a digital recorder. He pressed a button. Cole's voice, "You don't live here. You fit the description. Open this door, or I break the window." Marcus's voice, "I am a federal agent. My credentials are in my inside jacket pocket." Cole's voice, "I didn't ask for a life story. Get out." Grant stopped the recording. He identified himself immediately. "You escalated immediately." And then Grant pressed the button again. Cole's voice, "Not in my town, boy." The word hung in the air, heavy and ugly. The neighbors were all watching now. Mrs. Kensington was still filming. The landscaping crew had moved closer. Cole realized, with a sinking feeling in his gut, that the audio was not just on Grant's recorder. It was likely on Marcus's body wire, his own body camera, if he had not conveniently forgotten to turn it on, and potentially recorded by the neighbors. "You are going to be processed," Grant said coldly, "but not by your department. We are taking custody of you under federal statute." "You can't arrest a cop for doing his job," Cole screamed, struggling against the flex cuffs. "I have qualified immunity." Marcus stepped forward. Qualified immunity protects officials who make reasonable mistakes in the line of duty. It does not protect those who knowingly violate constitutional rights. You saw the badge. You called it fake without verification. That is malice, Derek. That pierces the veil of immunity. "Officer Harper," Grant called out. Harper jumped. "Yes, sir." "You suggested running the badge," Grant said. "We heard that on the wire. You tried to de-escalate." "I tried. He wouldn't listen," Harper stammered. "That fact is the only reason you are not in cuffs right now," Grant said. "But you are going to write a statement. A very long, very detailed statement. And if you leave out a single comma, You will go down with him. Do you understand? Yes, sir. Absolutely, sir. Cole looked at his partner. Lena, don't tell them anything. Union rep, call the union rep. Harper looked at Cole. She looked at the FBI agents. She looked at Marcus, the man she had almost watched get beaten. Shut up, Derek, she said quietly. The processing of the scene took hours. Sycamore Drive was cordoned off with yellow tape that read Federal Crime Scene, which confused the local residents accustomed to seeing the blue and white tape of the Oak Creek PD. Cole had been placed in the back of one of the Suburbans, isolated, air conditioning off. He was sweating, stewing, and waiting. Outside, the dynamic was shifting from tactical to legal. Marcus stood by the hood of his Tahoe, drinking a bottle of water Pierce had given him. His shoulder throbbed, and he knew he would have a massive bruise tomorrow, but the adrenaline kept the pain at a distance. So, Pierce said, leaning against the fender. The courier's gone, Marcus said, shaking his head. Saw the lights, saw the cruiser. Probably turned around 3 blocks back. Mercer won't get the money today. He'll get spooked. He might start shredding documents. We can get a warrant for Mercer's place based on the wiretap we already have, Pierce suggested. It's messy, but we might salvage it. Maybe, Marcus said. He looked at the police cruiser still parked crookedly in the street. But right now, I'm more interested in what we found in Cole's car. You mean besides your gun? I mean the laptop, Marcus said. When he was running my plates, I saw something on his screen. It wasn't the standard NCIC database. Pierce frowned. What was it? It looked like a private messaging board. Something encrypted. He didn't close it when he jumped out. Pierce flagged down a tech agent. Get the data off the cruiser's laptop. Clone it now. While the tech team went to work, a new vehicle arrived. It was a standard Oak Creek police chief's car. Chief Victor Lang was a man in his 60s trying desperately to hold on to a job that was rapidly becoming too complex for him. He walked under the yellow tape looking as though he were walking to his own execution. He approached ASAC Grant and Marcus. Agent Grant, Lang said, extending a hand that Grant ignored. I got the call. I can't believe this. Believe it, Chief, Grant said. Your officer assaulted an agent. I'm sure it was a misunderstanding. Lang tried, wiping his brow with a handkerchief. Derek Cole is a veteran. He's old school. Maybe a bit rough, but he gets results. Old school? Marcus spoke up. He stepped out from behind Grant. Chief Lang looked at Marcus. He saw the dust on the suit, the red marks on the wrists. This is Agent Hale, Grant introduced. Chief, Marcus said. Your old-school officer profiled me, assaulted me, and illegally detained me. But here is the part that is going to interest you. Marcus pulled a folded piece of paper from his pocket. A printout the tech agent had just handed him. We just pulled the logs from Cole's onboard computer, Marcus said. You know how you guys are supposed to run plates through the state database? Of course, Lang said. Cole didn't run my plate through the state database, Marcus said. He ran it through a private Discord server. Lang blinked. A what? A chat room, Marcus explained, bear a private group called the Blue Wall. He posted my plate number and a photo of me sitting in the car. He asked the group, got a bogey at 4002 Sycamore. Black guy in a nice car messing with the neighborhood. Green light to harass. Lang's mouth opened, but no sound came out. Marcus continued, his voice hardening. Someone replied, a user named Watchman. The reply was, light him up, make him run. Marcus stepped closer to the chief. This wasn't just a bad stop, Chief. This was coordinated gang activity operating inside your department. Cole wasn't checking for warrants. He was checking with his friends to see if he could have some fun. The implications were nuclear. It meant Cole was not a lone wolf. It meant there was a cell of officers in Oak Creek, and perhaps other departments sharing targets, encouraging harassment, and bypassing legal protocols. This is impossible, Lang whispered. It's about to be national news, Grant said. We are seizing all servers at your precinct. We are seizing all personal devices of officers on that shift. and we are opening a pattern or practice investigation into the Oak Creek Police Department immediately." Lang looked at Cole, who was watching from the window of the Suburban. The chief's face went from shock to fury. He realized his department was about to be gutted because one man could not suppress his ego for a few minutes. "Can I speak to him?" Lang asked. "No," Grant said. "He is a federal prisoner. You can speak to his lawyer if he can find one." At that moment, a sleek silver Mercedes pulled up to the perimeter. A man in a sharp navy suit got out. He carried a leather briefcase and walked with the confident stride of a man who charged $800 an hour. "That," Marcus said, checking his watch, "would be the lawyer." It was attorney Roderick Kane. The Roderick Kane. He was a defense attorney known for taking high-profile cases involving police misconduct, usually defending the cops. He was the go-to fixer for the Fraternal Order of Police. Kane ducked under the tape, flashing a smile that did not reach his eyes. "Gentlemen, quite a party. I represent Officer Cole. I demand to see my client immediately." Grant blocked his path. "Mr. Kane, you're fast. I have a retainer with the union." Kane said smoothly, "Now I understand there was friction between agencies. Let's not blow this out of proportion. My client made a judgment call. We can discuss an apology, perhaps a drop charge." Marcus laughed. It was a dry, humorless sound. "Mr. Kane," Marcus said, "your client is currently detained under Title 18, United States Code Section 242 and Section 111 for assault on a federal officer, and we are currently drafting charges for conspiracy to violate civil rights based on digital evidence we just seized." Kane paused. He looked at Marcus, then at the tech agents cloning the laptop. The smile faltered for a fraction of a second. "Conspiracy?" Kane asked, his voice losing its lilt. "That's a reach, agent." "Is it?" Marcus held up the printout of the chat log. He solicited instructions on whether to harass a citizen based on race from a private network. That is conspiracy, and since I am a federal agent, that makes it a conspiracy to impede a federal investigation. Kane snatched the paper. He read it. His eyes narrowed. He was a shock, and he had just realized there was blood in the water. But it was his client's blood. "I need 5 minutes with him," Kane said, his tone serious now. "You can have 2, Grant said, with an agent present. "Attorney-client privilege," Kane snapped. "Not when the device used to commit the crime is still in the car he's sitting in," Grant countered. "We are securing the scene. You can shout at him through the window." Kane walked over to the Suburban. Cole saw him and started pounding on the glass. "Get me out of here, Kane. They broke my wrist. They kidnapped me." Kane gestured for the agent to roll the window down 3 inches. "Derek," Kane said, his voice low and hard. "Shut up." "What, you're supposed to help me?" "I can't help you if you keep talking," Kane hissed. "They have the chat logs, Derek. They have the blue wall chats." Cole stopped pounding. The color drained from his face so quickly, he looked like a corpse. "They looked at the laptop?" "Yes," Kane said. "And because of that, this isn't a traffic stop anymore. It's a RICO case against you." Cole slumped back against the seat. "But Watchman told me to—" Kane closed his eyes and pinched the bridge of his nose. "Did you just identify a co-conspirator while a federal agent is standing 2 feet away holding a recorder?" The agent standing guard smiled pleasantly. "I'm done," Kane said, stepping back. "I need to make some calls. I need to see if the union will even cover this. Intentional criminal conspiracy usually voids your coverage, Derek." "You can't leave me!" Cole screamed as Kane walked away. Marcus watched the lawyer retreat. He turned to Pierce. "You know what the worst part is?" "What?" "If he had just checked the badge," Marcus said, "I would have let him go with a warning. He would be home eating dinner in an hour. Now he's going to prison for years." "Calamity," Pierce said, spitting on the ground. "We aren't done yet," Marcus said, looking down the street at Councilman Mercer's house. The lights in the councilman's house had just turned off. "The big fish is trying to run. Cole was just the appetizer." Marcus tapped his earpiece. "Tactical. This is Hale. We are pivoting." The primary target, Mercer, is likely destroying evidence. We have probable cause based on the exigent circumstances created by the compromised surveillance. We are moving on the house now. Copy that, the radio crackled. Marcus looked at Cole one last time. Sit tight, officer. The show is just starting. The transition from a standoff on the street to a full-scale federal raid happened with the terrifying precision of a thunderclap. For Derek Cole, sitting handcuffed in the back of the FBI Suburban, the world had turned into a surreal nightmare. He watched through the tinted glass as the tactical team reformed. They were not looking at him anymore. They were looking at the house at 408 Sycamore Drive, the home of Councilman Silas Mercer. Cole had waved at Mercer just the day before. He had told neighborhood watch meetings that Mercer was a pillar of the community. He had spent years patrolling this street, effectively acting as Mercer's unpaid private security guard, chasing off suspicious cars to keep the councilman happy. Now he watched as Special Agent Marcus Hale, the man Cole had tried to humiliate, donned a heavy ballistic vest with FBI in bold yellow letters. Hale moved with a fluidity that Cole, with his stiff back and bad knees, had never possessed. "Breaching tools up," Marcus commanded, his voice clear over the radio frequency that Cole could faintly hear from the front seat of the Suburban. "Mercer is spooked. If he destroys the ledger, we lose the cartel connection. We go hard, we go fast." The team moved up the driveway. Cole felt a sick feeling in his stomach. Cartel connection? Mercer was just a zoning guy. He approved strip malls. What was the FBI talking about? "Stack up," Marcus ordered. 6 agents lined up against the pristine white siding of Mercer's colonial mansion. Pierce was on the ram. "FBI search warrant!" Marcus bellowed. His voice was a weapon, projecting deep and loud, shaking the windows. "Open the door!" Silence. "Hit it!" Crack. The sound of the battering ram splintering the solid oak door was sickeningly loud. It took one swing. The door flew inward. "Go, go, go!" Cole watched the agents flood into the house. He saw the flash of tactical lights sweeping the foyer. He heard shouting, muffled by the walls but unmistakable in its intensity. Inside the house, chaos reigned. Marcus moved through the hallway, his weapon raised. "Federal agents, show me your hands!" A maid screamed and dropped to the floor in the kitchen. "Secure her! Keep moving!" Marcus signaled toward the rear of the house, to the study. That was where the shredder would be. They reached the double doors of the study. They were locked. "Harlan, take it." Pierce did not use the ram this time. He used a mule kick, snapping the latch. The doors swung open. Councilman Silas Mercer was standing by the fireplace. He was not shredding documents. He was burning them. A metal wastebasket was in flames, smoke curling up toward the high ceiling. Mercer, a man usually seen in tailored suits, was in his bathrobe, frantically feeding thick ledgers into the fire. "FBI, step away from the fire!" Marcus shouted. Mercer looked up, his eyes wild. "You can't come in here. I have immunity. I'm an elected official." "You're under arrest for money laundering and racketeering." Marcus rushed forward. Mercer tried to throw a black hard drive into the flames. Marcus lunged. He did not tackle the man. He tackled the evidence. Marcus's gloved hand snatched the hard drive out of the air inches from the fire. He felt the heat sear his wrist, but he held on. Pierce hit Mercer with a tackle that would have made an NFL highlight reel. The councilman hit the expensive Persian rug with a thud. The wind knocked out of him. "Hands behind your back. Stop resisting." "I'm not resisting," Mercer wheezed, his face pressed into the wool. "You tried to destroy evidence in front of federal agents," Pierce growled, cuffing him. "That's obstruction. Add 5 years to the sentence." Marcus stood up, clutching the hard drive. He looked at the burning bin. He grabbed a heavy vase of flowers from the desk and dumped the water into the bin. The fire hissed and died, leaving half-burnt papers soggy but legible. "Secure the scene," Marcus breathed, his heart hammering. "Get the fire department to check the chimney for updrafts of loose paper. I want every scrap of ash bagged." 10 minutes later, the front door opened again. Derek Cole, still watching from the car, saw the impossible. Councilman Silas Mercer, the man who controlled the police budget, the man Cole had idolized as the definition of success, was dragged out in handcuffs. He was weeping. He looked small, pathetic, and guilty. Mercer saw the police cruiser in the street. He saw Cole in the back of the FBI truck. "Cole!" Mercer screamed, his voice cracking. "You idiot! You brought them here! You let them write to me!" Cole flinched as if slapped. Marcus walked out behind the prisoner, holding the evidence bag containing the hard drive. He walked over to the Suburban where Cole was being held. He signaled the agent to open the door. The rush of cool air hit Cole's sweaty face. "You see that, Derek?" Marcus asked, pointing at the weeping councilman. Cole nodded dumbly. "That man has been laundering money for the Sinaloa cartel for years," Marcus said. "He's been poisoning the city with fentanyl money, washing it through construction projects. We spent 2 years building this case. We were waiting for the money drop to catch him red-handed." Marcus leaned in, his eyes cold. "But because you wanted to play tough guy with a black man in a nice car, the courier got spooked. We missed the money. We almost lost the hard drive. You didn't protect this neighborhood, Derek. You protected a monster, and you almost let him get away." Cole looked down at his hands bound in plastic. The narrative in his head, that he was the thin blue line, the protector, was shattering. He was not the hero. He was the clown who had tripped the alarm. "I didn't know," Cole whispered. "That," Marcus said, slamming the door, "is going to be on your tombstone." The interrogation room at the FBI Chicago field office was a study in sensory deprivation. The walls were gray soundproofing foam. The table was bolted to the floor. The air was frigid, kept intentionally cold to keep suspects uncomfortable and awake. Derek Cole had been sitting there for what felt like hours. His handcuffs had been replaced with steel ones chained to the ring on the table. He was thirsty. He needed to use the bathroom, but mostly he was terrified. The door opened. He expected his lawyer, Roderick Kane. Instead, Agent Marcus Hale walked in, followed by ASAC Elias Grant. "No lawyer. Where is Kane?" Cole demanded, his voice raspy. "I invoked my right to counsel." Marcus sat down, placing a thick file on the metal table. "Mr. Kane is currently busy." "Busy doing what? He's my lawyer." "Actually," Grant said, remaining standing, "Mr. Kane represents the Fraternal Order of Police. He represents the union. And as of recently, the union has voted to revoke your membership and legal protection." Cole felt the blood drain from his face. "What? They can't do that." "They can," Marcus said. "There is a clause in your contract regarding conduct unbecoming and criminal malfeasance. When the news broke that you were running a racial profiling ring on a private server, well, the union decided you were too radioactive to touch. They cut you loose, Derek. You're on your own." Cole slumped. The system he had served, the blue wall he thought would always shield him, had just dropped him off a cliff to save itself. "I want a public defender," Cole whispered. "You'll get one," Marcus said. "But first we're going to listen to a story. Your story." Marcus opened the file. He pulled out photos, not of Cole, but of the chat logs from the laptop. "We cracked the encryption on the Blue Wall Discord server," Marcus said. "It's ugly, Derek. Really ugly. Jokes about beating suspects, competitions on who can write the most bogus tickets, but the worst part is the hierarchy." Marcus tapped a photo of a user profile named Watchman. "This guy," Marcus said. "Watchman, he's the ringleader. He tells you who to target. He gave you the order to light me up today." "Who is he?" Cole shook his head. I can't tell you." "Why not?" Grant asked. "Loyalty to the people who just fired your lawyer, to the people who are letting you take the fall for a federal civil rights violation." "You don't understand," Cole said, his eyes tearing up. "If I talk, I'm a rat. I'm dead in prison. A cop in general population is bad. A snitch cop. I won't last a week." Marcus leaned forward. His voice was not angry anymore. It was dangerously soft. "Derek, Look at the math. You are facing years for the deprivation of rights, another stretch for the gun enhancement, another for conspiracy. You are looking at serious time. You will be an old man when you get out. You will die in prison anyway. Marcus slid a piece of paper across the table. This is a proffer agreement, Marcus said. You talk. You tell us who Watchman is. You tell us every officer involved in this ring. In exchange, we recommend a significantly reduced sentence in a minimum security federal camp. We put you in protective custody. You survive. Cole stared at the paper. It was a lifeline, but it required him to betray the only identity he had left. I need to know I'm safe, Cole stammered. You're only safe if you give us the head of the snake, Marcus said. Who is Watchman? Cole closed his eyes. He thought about the barbecue at the precinct last summer. He thought about the man who had clapped him on the back and told him to keep the streets clean. The man who had given him the login to the server. It's... Cole's voice cracked. It's Sergeant Lang. Marcus paused. The chief's brother, the shift sergeant. Yes, Cole wept. And the chief knows. Chief Lang is overlord in the chat. They run it together. They use the tickets and the arrests to juice the stats to get federal grants. It's all a game. The silence in the room was heavy. This was bigger than a few bad apples. The inner orchard was rotten. Grant, Marcus said, not taking his eyes off Cole. Get the warrant for the chief. Marcus looked back at Cole. You did the right thing, Derek. Finally. Does this mean I can go home? Cole asked, a pathetic hope in his eyes. Marcus stood up and gathered the files. He looked at the man who had tried to ruin him. He felt a moment of pity, but it was fleeting. No, Derek, Marcus said. It means you don't die in prison, but you're never going home. Not to the life you had. Marcus knocked on the door. Guard, take him to booking. Later, the federal courthouse in downtown Chicago was besieged by media vans. The headline on the scrolling ticker of the CNN van read, Oak Creek Police Scandal, Sentencing Day. Special Agent Marcus Hale stood on the steps, adjusting his tie. The wind off the lake was cold, but the sun was bright. Beside him stood Agent Harlan Pierce and ASAC Elias Grant. Inside the courtroom, the final act of the drama had just played out. Derek Cole stood before the judge. He looked 20 years older. His mustache was gone, shaved off in county lockup. His suit was ill-fitting. He had lost significant weight from stress. The courtroom was packed. In the front row sat his ex-wife. She was not there to support him. She was there with her divorce attorney to ensure the lien on his pension was finalized. She would not look at him. Judge Eleanor Voss, a stern woman with zero tolerance for corruption, adjusted her glasses. Mr. Cole, she said, you have cooperated with the government. Your testimony was instrumental in the indictment of former Chief Lang and Sergeant Lang, both of whom are now facing significant prison time. The court acknowledges this. Cole nodded, hope rising in his chest. Maybe probation, maybe house arrest. However, the judge continued, her voice hardening like concrete, you were the spearhead of a culture of terror. You used your badge as a cudgel. You targeted Agent Hale not because of what he did, but because of who he was. You betrayed the public trust in the most visceral way possible. The judge looked at Marcus sitting in the prosecution box. Agent Hale, do you have a victim impact statement? Marcus stood up. He walked to the podium. He did not have notes. Your Honor, Marcus said, I am a trained federal agent. When Mr. Cole assaulted me, I knew how to de-escalate. I knew the law. I had a team listening. Marcus paused, looking directly at Cole. But I keep thinking about the man who sat in that car before me. The teenager driving home from school. The father going to the grocery store. They didn't have a wire. They didn't have a backup team. When they met Officer Cole, they had no voice. Today the system worked because I am part of the system. But justice shouldn't require a badge to work. Officer Cole didn't just break the law. He broke the promise that keeps this society from falling into chaos. He needs to serve as an example that the badge is a heavy weight, not a free pass. Marcus sat down. The judge nodded. Derek Cole, I sentence you to 48 months in federal prison, followed by 3 years of supervised release. You are stripped of your pension. You are permanently barred from holding any position in law enforcement or security. Remand is immediate. The gavel banged. It sounded like a gunshot. No! Cole cried out as the marshals moved in. Please, I helped you! I helped you! The marshals did not care. They spun him around, cuffing his hands behind his back. The same sound, click, click, that he had inflicted on Marcus. As they walked him out the side door, Cole looked back. He locked eyes with Marcus one last time. There was no anger in Marcus's eyes, just a blank professional indifference. Cole realized with crushing finality that he was not a villain in Marcus's story anymore. He was just paperwork. Outside the courthouse, Marcus walked down the steps. The reporters swarmed. Agent Hale, how do you feel about the verdict? Is the FBI investigating other departments? Marcus stopped at the microphones. He looked into the cameras. Justice was served today, Marcus said. But let's be clear. This wasn't a victory. A police department was dismantled. A city councilman is in jail. A family was destroyed. This was a tragedy that could have been avoided with 5 seconds of respect. That's the lesson. Respect the law. Respect the people. Or eventually the law will come for you. He stepped back. Pierce clapped him on the shoulder. Beer? Yes, Marcus smiled. But you're buying. I'm technically still on duty until I file this final report. Deal. They walked away. 2 men in suits disappearing into the city crowd. Behind them, the news screens flashed the mugshot of Derek Cole, a man who had everything and lost it all in mere minutes because he could not let go of his ego. The karma had not just hit. It had cleared the board, and that is how mere minutes of arrogance destroyed a lifetime of service. Derek Cole thought he was the predator, but he failed to realize he was swimming in an ocean with much bigger sharks. He lost his job, his freedom, and his legacy, all because he judged a book by its cover and did not bother to read the badge inside. It is a brutal reminder. In the age of cameras and accountability, the truth always has a way of coming out. Cole's blue wall of silence did not protect him. It collapsed on top of him. What do you think? Did Cole deserve the sentence? Or should it have been harsher, considering he was part of a larger conspiracy? And would you have remained as calm as Agent Hale? Let us know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this story of instant karma and justice served, please smash that like button. It really helps the channel. Subscribe and hit the bell icon so you never miss a new story. We post real-life inspired dramas every week. Thanks for watching and stay safe out there.